objective of the bill has 6 strategic objectives. Number 1 is to adopt appropriate counter-cyclical fiscal policies to respond to the economic and revenue challenges precipitated by the decline in international oil prices, as well as the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the Nigerian economy. 2, to reform the extant fiscal policies to prioritize job creation, economic growth, socio-economic development, domestic revenue mobilization, as well as to foster closer coordination with monetary and trade policies. 3, to provide fiscal relief for taxpayers by reducing the applicable minimum tax rate for 2 consecutive years of assessment, as well as reforming the commencement and cessation rules for small businesses. 4, propose measures to fund the federal government's COVID-19 pandemic response and introduce provisions to enhance the recovery of corporate donations toward responses to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as any similar crisis in the future. 5, amend certain aspects of Fiscal Responsibility Act to align this act with the 1999 Constitution as amended, as well as to enhance fiscal efficiencies by controlling the cost-to-revenue ratio of key state and government-owned enterprises. And 6, amend the Public Procurement Act to implement key procurement reforms previously proposed by the National Assembly in 2019 to extend the scope of the Act to the federal judiciary and legislature, accelerate procurement processes, increase mobilization fee thresholds, and provide for essential e-procurement reforms. As such, the 2021 appropriation bill is based on the provisions of this particular bill. The additional revenues will be used to fund health, education, and infrastructure programs.
If in will I use the word is in distress, or the global economy is collapsing as a result of the pandemic, and one of the ways to stimulate back this economy is to outspend ourselves out of this global economic depression which the entire world has found itself. And so I'm not surprised for this year's provision looking into the Public Procurement Act so that we can put provisions in place that will enhance prompt execution of contracts of the federal government, which are very sensitive. And don't forget, they are extending this year's provision to both the judiciary and the legislature. And this will go a long way to stimulate the economy and see that we have spent ourselves out of this global downturn which the global economy has found itself. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, don't forget that there is need for us to raise more funds.
You have what economists call people, a large number of Nigerians live within what the economists call autonomous consumption. Those are people who wake up in the morning and come to National Assembly hoping that they will walk into Senator Aliu and get 5 naira or 50,000 to go and eat. Mr. President, how do the tax system capture people who are living in this autonomous consumption? So I think that why we are doing this, because they constitute a large chunk, day in, day out. It's not just here. When you walk out of this place, all of them feed the corridors of the National Assembly. What they get is...
Do you mean they should pay tax?
There is no economy that does not capture such people. If we don't, because you can find them, they're almost 40%. And so if we are trying to look for money, there must be an innovation where people who are living within these autonomous, what they call autonomous consumers.
Bill must take into consideration the fact that we have billions in banks stuck there, stolen Nigerian money. I think there's a need for us to examine those aspects. Two, Mr. President, I think one other area that we must emphasize upon is in the area of property tax, Mr. President. There are there are properties in Nigeria. In Abuja here, you will see many houses completed 10 years ago. There's no nation where you see houses completed 5 years. No tenants, the people don't bother because they are stolen funds. These properties are scattered all over Nigeria. Properties built, mansions, nobody owns them, nobody's paying them, no tenants. So I think, Mr. President, these are some of the areas that we must look at in order to recover some of the wealth of our people that have been misappropriated. Apart from this, Mr. President, in a nation where some people cannot eat square meal, there are Nigerians with private jets scattered all over. What happens? What is the tax? What is the proposal? Or those who own private jets in Nigeria, how much are they paying? There are jets in this country owned by Nigerians, whom some of them you cannot really establish their source of livelihood. I think if we want a change and we want to expand the net, the revenue net of our nation, it must be holistic. Let us look beyond the taxes that we affect with common people. Those who own private jets in Nigeria should be ready to help the nation now that the nation is bleeding. I think it's one aspect, Mr. President, that we must look into.